Meet Emily, a fearless and determined ghost hunter who has dedicated her life to uncovering the truth behind the supernatural. With her sharp wit and unwavering courage, she navigates the treacherous world of the paranormal, facing down malevolent spirits and uncovering the dark secrets of haunted places. But when Emily receives a mysterious message inviting her to investigate a deserted mansion in the middle of nowhere, she realizes that this may be her greatest challenge yet. As she enters the mansion and confronts the ghostly inhabitants within, she must draw on all her skills and courage to uncover the truth behind the mansion's chilling history. Follow Emily as she delves deeper into the mysteries of the mansion, facing danger at every turn and uncovering shocking revelations that threaten to destroy everything she holds dear. Will she be able to unravel the truth and put the spirits to rest? Or will she become just another victim of the house on Blackwood Lane?
I drive down the road towards my grandmother's old house in a small town. The town is quiet and peaceful, but the house on Blackwood Lane looks dark and foreboding. I walk through the front door of the old house, carrying boxes of my belongings. I set them down and look around the empty, dusty interior. It's so quiet in here. I feel like I'm being watched. My cat and dog wander through the house, exploring their new surroundings. "At least you guys seem to like it here," I say with a smile. Suddenly, a door slams shut in the distance. I jump in surprise. What was that? I ask myself. I cautiously walk towards the door, but as I approach, it slams shut again. I try to open it, but it's locked. That's weird. I don't remember locking that door, I mutter to myself. I look at a painting on the wall, and the eyes of the figure in the painting seem to follow me as I walk away. I'm lying in bed, trying to get some sleep, but I keep hearing strange noises. The wind outside is howling, making it difficult to tell if the noises are coming from inside or outside the house. Suddenly, I hear a loud bang. It sounds like it's coming from the room next to mine. I get out of bed and cautiously walk to the door. As I open it, the door across from mine slams shut. My heart races as I realize that I'm not alone in the house. I make my way to the other room and see that a book has fallen off the shelf. I pick it up and put it back on the shelf, trying to calm my nerves. But then I hear something moving in the hallway. I walk out into the dark hallway, and that's when I see it. A shadowy figure moving towards me. I freeze, unable to move. The figure gets closer, and closer, until I can make out the shape of a woman. My grandmother. I try to speak, but my voice fails me. My grandmother looks at me with sad, mournful eyes before disappearing into the darkness. I'm left alone in the hallway, shaken and terrified. I wake up the next morning, still reeling from the ghostly encounter of the night before. I can't shake the feeling that my grandmother's ghost is still present in the house. As I make my way down to the kitchen, I notice that the atmosphere has changed. The air feels heavier, and the room is colder than usual. I sit down at the kitchen table, and that's when I see it. A chair on the other side of the table moves on its own. I try to tell myself that it's just my imagination, but I know deep down that something is not right in this house. Over the next few days, I experience more ghostly encounters. Objects move on their own, and I hear strange noises throughout the house. I start to research the history of the house and my family, hoping to find answers to the ghostly occurrences. As I dig deeper, I uncover a dark secret. My family has a history of mental illness, and my grandmother was rumored to have been possessed by a demon. The more I learn, the more convinced I become that the haunting is not just my imagination, but something much more sinister. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by old family photos and documents. I've been researching my family history for days now, and I've uncovered some disturbing secrets about my grandmother's past. According to the records, my grandmother was a troubled woman who suffered from mental illness. She was rumored to have been possessed by a demon, and was ultimately committed to a mental institution. As I continue to dig, I come across a newspaper article from 30 years ago. It details a tragic event that occurred in this very house. A young girl was brutally murdered by her father, who then killed himself. I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Could this be the reason for the haunting? That night, I hear strange noises coming from the basement. I grab a flashlight and cautiously make my way down the stairs. As I reach the bottom step, I see something that makes my blood run cold. The walls are covered in strange symbols, and I can feel a cold breeze coming from one corner of the room. I start to realize that the haunting is not just a simple ghost, but something much more powerful and malevolent. Determined to put the spirit to rest, I begin researching ways to perform a spiritual cleansing. As I approached the room where the haunting seemed to be the strongest, I took a deep breath to steady my nerves. The door creaked open, and I stepped inside, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. There, in the center of the room, stood the ghostly figure of my grandmother. She appeared to be translucent, and her eyes were fixated on me as if she had been waiting for my arrival.
Emily,
she said, her voice barely a whisper.
You have come to confront the darkness that has been haunting this house for years.
I nodded, unable to speak, and took a step forward. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped, and I could see my breath in front of me. The ghostly figure of my grandmother beckoned me closer, and I felt a force pulling me towards her. As I got closer, I could feel the weight of the darkness bearing down on me.
Listen carefully, Emily.
My grandmother said.
The darkness in this house is not of this world. It was summoned by someone who sought to do harm, and it has been growing stronger with each passing year.
I listened intently, trying to understand what she was telling me.
You must find the source of the darkness and confront it head-on.
My grandmother said.
Only then can you save this house and yourself.
With that, she vanished, leaving me alone in the cold, dark room. I knew what I had to do. I had to face the darkness and put an end to its reign of terror once and for all.
Don't be afraid, close your eyes, there's a moon overhead, but the sun will rise.
As I stood in the quiet of my old house on Blackwood Lane, I knew that my journey was far from over. The ghostly encounters of the past few days had left me shaken and fearful, but also determined to uncover the truth about what was haunting my home. I spent hours poring over my grandmother's old journals, searching for clues that would lead me to the heart of the mystery. And finally, I found a cryptic passage that hinted at a tragic event that had taken place in the house many years ago. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end as I followed the clues, descending deeper and deeper into the heart of the darkness that had claimed my home. And finally, I came face to face with the malevolent spirit that had been haunting me. I knew that I had only one chance to stop it, to confront it head-on, with all the courage and determination that I could muster. With my cat and dog by my side, I prepared for the final showdown. As I stood facing the dark force that had tormented me for so long, I felt a sense of fear and uncertainty wash over me. But I knew that I had no choice but to fight back. With a fierce cry, I launched myself at the spirit, determined to put an end to its evil once and for all. And in the end, I emerged victorious, the spirit defeated, and my home saved from destruction. But as I stood alone in the quiet of my home, I knew that the experience had changed me forever. I was no longer the same person who had inherited this house from my grandmother. I was something more, something stronger, something braver. And I knew that I would never forget the lessons that I had learned in the house on Blackwood Lane.